guys, welcome to Power Poppy. I'm Allison Cope, and today we're going to be doing some embossing and coloring with Polychromos Pencils. Come and join Bunny and me. So we're going to start our project today with a purple piece of paper. Yes, purple cardstock. This is my favorite color, so I had to use it first. We are going to be doing some heat embossing, so we're going to actually take our cardstock and treat it with a little bit of an anti-static powder. I like these pads just because you can get better coverage and in a larger surface. Now, we are going to be using our gorgeous Peony Muse stamp set today. And let's see, we're going to start with our large peony here. I think I'll start with this bloom in the corner. And let's see, we've got our other open bloom here. And let's see, what else can we layer? I think we can probably start by layering a little bit of greenery, some leaves. So let's start there. We're using the Misty tool today because it's just absolutely brilliant for this technique. So I've just got some Versamark. I am inking up all of those stamps. You'll have to excuse my squeak. Oh, and I lost the stamp set. Well, I'll go back to that one. Just giving a good press. There we go. And I'm going to, I always bring in a scrap piece of paper to do this. I've got ink on 3s, Arctic White embossing powder. I'm just going to sprinkle that all over image. Give it a good tap. There we go. I'm going to go and heat set it, and then we'll go and add other details by masking. All right, so we've embossed both of those peonies. So I'm going to put my masks over top of those two images. I always keep my masks. There's no point in fussy cutting out these images twice. I mean, they do have a lifespan, but for the most part, I can reuse them. So let's put some foliage and maybe one of the blossoms. We'll put a blossom in here just to build up our background. We'll use our larger multiple leaf, and they're curling up, but you know what, they'll still function. So there are our next 3 images. Go in with the Versamark again. Carefully put them over top of those masks. There we go. Giving them a good press just because they're up against other images. Remove the masks for the time being. And once again, I'm going to add our embossing powder over top of that wet ink. Give it a shake and a tap. There we go. Heat emboss, and on to the next step. So we have one more single leaf. I think we will actually won't even bother with masking. We'll just drop it right there. And we also have some really pretty berries in this set. So I think we'll just add them in. They're not going to need to be masked either. I'm just going to lay them up. It stuck to my hand. Just lay them in. Trying to make somewhat of a connection to that edge there. Pick them up, and I'm going to do the same thing, and then we're going to get to coloring. All right, be back in a minute. All right, so we have our residual powder on, so I'm just going to take a microfiber cloth and just wipe down my cardstock to get rid of that excess powder on there, and voila, she's ready to rock. Now, I am going to put a sentiment on. I haven't decided what I'm going to do yet, but let's get to coloring. So we're going to start with my Prismacolor pencils. Lots of awesome color here. I'm just going to set them up above my desk. And what we're going to do is we're going to start by adding some kind of underlayer of white to the images. What it's going to do is going to allow any other pigments that are put over top of it to pop, because obviously you get a brighter color on a lighter cardstock. So if we had started with white, it would leave a true pigment color, whereas when you're coloring on a purple, no, the color just shows up slightly different, let's put it that way. So I'm going to put on some music and we're going to color away. So I hope you enjoy. So there is our image, and it really didn't take me all that long, and I wasn't too scared about going over the embossing lines. They're pretty hardy and take okay pressure from the tip of the pencil, so go ahead and do that. And like I said, really quick coloring, and let's figure out what other details we can put on our card. So we're going to use Cheers to a Lovely Friend from the My English Rose stamp set. And of course, I probably should have done this when I did the rest of my embossing, but haha, I just didn't know what I wanted to put on it, so no big deal. I'm just going to stamp that one more time with more ink. There we go, and I'm going to go and add some white embossing powder. So I think our background, now that everything's been heat embossed, needs a little white splatter. Yes, white splatter. It's kind of my go-to thing right now. I'm going to kind of temporarily cover up kind of that corner with just a piece of scrap paper. I've got some good old white acrylic paint in my palette here. I always have a crafty toothbrush. Dollar store is great for those, and I just like to take and run my fingernail through it. I prefer little splatter, tiny, tiny, tiny drops to big globby splatter. So this is the way that you can achieve that. It doesn't give you blobs, and it very, very rarely gives you streaky. There's a couple of larger blobs up there. I am going to remove just a little bit of that mask just to get into those gaps. With the toothbrush you can get into spots a little bit more easily because you can direct where you want your paint to end up. So there, that's a little bit more what I was kind of thinking. And let's continue to go on. So I've decided I'm going to add a little bit of kind of detail in the background, very subtle. So I'm going to place my Harlequin stencil here, and I'm just going to use some post-it tape to hold that little fella down. And hold it down there too. And I'm going to use picked raspberry distress oxide because it sits on top of the paper and it's more opaque. I'm going to use it. And we're not going to use the full stencil. I'm just going to kind of highlight sections, and I'm not putting a lot of ink. I'm just putting almost a hint of ink, not too thick or anything. Okay, and I'm going right over those speckles, so the speckles are going to be pink too. All right, so I've just chosen kind of 3 random spots, and let's do a reveal here. There we go. It's very extremely subtle, but it picks up that color in our little berries there and brings it to the foreground. All right, let's finish off our card. Okay, I think we're just going to add some simple silver twine. So I'm going to flip the card over, and I'm going to kind of put it across the top. And just to make things easier on myself, I'm going to tape it onto the back of my panel. And we're going to wrap it around, bring it to the front, if it'll cooperate with me. And let's just trim this off to make it easier. And I think I'm going to put the bow over top of the sentiment here. If I can get this to cooperate. I think I'm going to tie a knot first. Quite often what I do is I just wrap a single strand, tape it on the back, and then actually glue a bow down. Sometimes that's just easier. That way you can make the... And of course you can tighten this up too. So I'm just going to tie my knot. I like to tie my bows upside down. My bows tend to sit flatter if I tie them upside down. Now, another way to ensure that your strings of your bow are going in the direction you want, you can bring in a good old glue dot here. I'm just going to use my scissors to pick it up. And you can just kind of ball up your dot there, press your bow into it, and then you can manhandle your bow so that things kind of go the way you want. And then of course you just trim your strings and call her done. Now I'm going to fix this. You can tighten that string on the back by just securing it with another piece of tape just to tighten it. So you just kind of give it a little tug and secure it that way. And that'll just flatten down when you just have to make sure it's at the right point on your card. There we go. Like super, super simple card. Didn't take that long. And now I can adhere this to the front of my card base. I use HEG. It's my favorite tape runner. I buy them by the dozen, and a dozen usually lasts me a year. And because I have 2 guns now, it actually lasts me even longer than that. So there we go. A super simple card using pencil crayons, white embossing powder, and good old paint. Thanks for joining me again, you guys. Please hit that subscribe button, and I'd love to hear what you think. See you again soon.